We will create a simple bar graph uh, called as vertical columns using a JavaScript library called as d3. The abbreviation d3 stands for data driven documents. To create this bar graph, we'll just need three files. One is an HTML file, second is a CSS file, and third is a JavaScript file. We'll begin by creating the HTML file. We'll name it as index.html. Second is a CSS file. We'll name it as style.css. And third, our JavaScript file. We'll name it as simplebar.js. And we'll start coding from our index.html. We'll create the required HTML syntax. Opening and closing HTML tags, the head and body tag. In the head tag, we need to give link to our d3 library that we can download from d3.js.org. From this link. This is a zip file. We need to download it, we need to extract it, we need to locate d3.js, and we have to include this file in our source folder. Or we can directly copy this link and include in our head tag of our index.html code. So we are doing this. We need to give link to our style.css file. It is a style sheet, and the reference for it. Here goes the name of our style.css file. And close this. The head tag is over. Now in body tag, I would like to add an header bar graph. Simple header, nothing. So now the source to our own simple bar.js using the script tag, providing the name of our JS file in this source, simple bar.js. Our code for index.html is over. Nothing more is to be added. To check if our style.cs is correctly linked to our HTML code, we'll just give some color to our body. We'll give some background color. Simple light gray would work. To check. To run this thing, we need to run this index.html from our browser. See, this bar graph is the header which we had given, and the light gray color which we mentioned in our style sheet, so it's working fine. Uh, to display our vertical columns, we need to use the DOM element called div from HTML. For now, we don't have any div in our HTML. We will create all the required divs for the vertical columns in this simple bar.js. But to display them, we need to give some style, some attribute to them. So we'll give this div some attributes. We will give some class to this div. We'll call it as bar. So div.bar would work. So now the time to give some style to it, we'll give mm, display attribute to it, inline block, some width, 20 px would work, then background color, dark, dark blue, dark blue will look fine, and some margin. Margin would be because we need to separate two blocks from each other. Otherwise, all blocks would be attached to each other and we would not be able to distinguish in between them. Margin would be 5px would make a good space in between them. We are not giving height because that we are going to generate dynamically through simple bar.js. So each bar, each vertical column will have different height. So our style.css code is done here. Now we'll move to our JavaScript file, simple bar.js. I would like to create a global variable. We'll call it as chart data. We'll keep it as an empty array so that we can populate it with more than one value. I would like to have some 10 vertical graphs. For that we'll give a for loop from starting from 0 to 9. So we'll write a for loop here. A variable I starting from 0, which is less than 10, and incremental I. Then we'll create one more variable. We'll call it as my data. This would be some kind of temporary variable which will store the current value of the generated value. So we'll use mat.random method to generate values or dynamic height for our vertical columns. So what does mat.random returns? It returns the values ranging between 0.0 to 0.99. So we'll write a mat.random function, and to increase the scale I would like to multiply that value by 100, because if we use the mat.random function directly, displaying values like 0.1 or 0.25, which is less than 0.99, which is very less to display. So we'll multiply it by 100. Suppose the mat.random generates 0.1, we multiply it by 300, so the value which is stored in my data would be 30. So it is sufficient enough to display it on the screen. Now we'll push all these values generated in my data to chart data. So chart data dot push is the method which takes input as my data. So the for loop is done. Now time to write the D3 code. Here in D3 code, we'll first write the select method and give body as a string. What it does, it will go to the DOM, it will search for body, and if it finds body element, div element, it will return the reference of this body element to D3. So further action will be taken on this body element. So what we'll do, we'll select all the divs under this body element. For now, we do not have any single div in it, but yes, that will be generated using our D3 further. So the function to generate them is enter. What does enter do? It goes to the DOM and compares it with the chart data's values. So now DOM has 0 divs and chart data has 10 values from our for loop. So it will create 10 empty placeholder for our div in our DOM. And the next method which we are writing is the append method, which will append 10 divs to that empty placeholder. Now we forgot to load the data. This method will load the data to our D3. So now we have our data loaded, we have our divs created. What next? We need to give some class so that all the styles which we have written in our style.css will be applied to our divs or our vertical columns. So the method is attribute. It has property and values in it in the form of strings. So what we have to give as a property, the class, and what we want the class as a value, that is div, so a bar, which we have given in style.css. Here we can see. So all the divs which are having class as bar will get the values for style from this thing, style div.bar. One more thing which we had to do, which we had not written in this, is a height for each vertical bar. We will write a method here, style, to add this, and the property is height. We'll add height to each vertical graph using the callback function, anonymous function, which will take input as d, which is the data loaded into d3, which is our chart data, and it will return our d with this px. We'll terminate this with a semicolon and terminate this complete d3 with semicolon. So for this example, if our .mat.random function generate 0.1, which is multiplied 300, so my data will hold 30. So this 30 is loaded into our chart data, which is passed as input parameter to our function, callback function. So this 30 is returned from this height to this height as 30px from this return statement. So our complete code for generating a bar chart is done here. Now we'll save this and we'll run our index.html to see if it works. So see, so 10 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 vertical columns are generated using mat.random function. See, we have not given any single value to our chart data on our own. This mat.random function generates some values. It is multiplied by 300 and stored into our chart data through this push function. So every time you refresh the page, each time the new values for this my data will be generated and pushed into chart data by using this mat.random function. See, I refresh the page and the values for these charts are changed. Every time we see a new height for each vertical column. So this is the code for bar graph using D3 library. Thank you for watching this video.